Welcome back. The African Disability Alliance recently held a 3-day workshop with persons with disability. The workshop focused on empowering people with disabilities to implement policies that can enforce laws to protect their rights. Now, in studio we have Kudakwashe Dube, the CEO of the Africa Disability Alliance. Now, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Now, tell us, what is this Africa Disability Alliance all about? Tell us about your organization. Who does it represent?
Yes, the Africa Disability Alliance was established in 2003 at the request of the then government of South Africa,
Yes.
when it agreed to host the Secretariat of the African Decade of People with Disabilities.
Okay.
And then the name was later changed to African Disability Alliance.
Yes.
It's a coalition of organizations of people with disabilities from across Africa.
Okay.
That would be Africa Union of the Blind, the Union of Deaf-Blind People,
Yes.
people with albinism,
Yes.
all the different kind of disabilities that are formed at a continental level.
Yes. Including South African organizations that
Yes,
represent?
organization like Disabled People South Africa, yes, is part of the founding members of
Yes.
the Africa Disability Alliance.
Okay, so now,
Yes.
AK, you recently held a workshop with the people with disabilities.
Yes.
What was that workshop all about? Just take us through what happened.
First of all, we wanted to celebrate the achievements that we have made in the last 2 years.
Yes.
Just to take note of the fact that we have now successfully fought for the Africa Disability Protocol, which will be a binding law on African governments.
Yes.
Once 15 countries have ratified that protocol.
Yes.
And also reflect on the work that has been done by the Pan-Africa Parliament, which we host here in Midrand.
Yes.
They adopted the model disability law that goes with the protocol.
Okay, so tell us about this Africa Protocol. What is it all about?
It is a human rights instrument
Yes.
that is based basically on the UN Convention on the
Sure.
rights of people with disabilities.
Yeah.
It has articles that protect the rights of people with disabilities across all sectors of society,
Yes.
be it education, health, work and employment, and so on.
Okay.
So it's a very good African policy instrument,
Yes.
which governments will then use to
Yes.
ensure that the rights of people with disabilities are enforced.
Are governments implementing the protocol at the moment?
At the moment, it's still not yet legally binding. It's still to be ratified by about 15 countries. But not yet.
Yes.
We are anticipating that we will get the 15 signatures that we require.
In South Africa?
South Africa has signed the protocol and made a promise to ratify it. So we hope that it will be ratified anytime soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so far, what have you achieved with the work that you do?
Apart from the policy work that we have done, we have managed to position government and disabled people's organizations
Yes.
right across Africa to where there is agreement on what needs to be done on the ground
Yes.
to ensure that policies are implemented.
Yes.
So usually there is a lot of contestation between governments and
Sure.
civil society. But what we now have is that in several different African countries, we have what we call the National Disability Mainstreaming Strategies.
Yes.
These are basically strategies to mainstream disability
Yes.
across all sectors of government to ensure that people with disabilities are not just confined, say, to social affairs or social development,
Yes.
but that they are there, their needs are there in all sectors of government.
Are you winning in overcoming the challenges that different governments may present to you as an alliance?
We are on the right track. I guess that's the best way to answer it.
Yes.
We are on the right track. We are not yet at a point when we can declare victory.
Yes.
We still have a lot of policies that have been passed and
Yes.
a lot of laws that have been passed.
Yes.
And their implementation has not been good.
Yes.
So, but the fact that we could have all the 55 African governments
Yes.
agreeing to adopt the Africa Disability Protocol
Yes.
at the level of the African Union, that's a massive achievement.
Oh, fantastic.
It would have taken us centuries to get to that point. So
Yes.
we are happy that we are able to achieve that now.
Now, what would you like to see happen in terms of transforming or advancing the laws and policies as they pertain to the disabled and people living with disabilities in Africa?
Yeah, frankly, from now on, it's really about implementation of those policies.
Yes.
And by that, I simply mean that we have far too many pieces of legislation and policies.
Yes.
And what we now need to do is to say to governments and to people with disabilities,
Yes.
let's get our hands dirty and
Yes,
let's
yes,
get implementation going on the ground.
Sure.
So we are busy formulating a lot of strategies that should enable government to operationalize the laws that are now in place.
Okay, tell us about your wish list. What is on your wish list?
The first wish list, of course, to have our policies in all sectors of government.
Yes.
Now, I need to emphasize that point.
Yes.
In all sectors of government implemented. And then we need government to ensure that there are national development plans, like we have here in South Africa.
Yes.
Our national development plan has got a strong component through the disability disaggregated national development plan. So we want these plans to be well documented, and then, of course, for budgets to be allocated for these plans to be implemented.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Yeah,
that was Kudakwashe Dube, the CEO of the Africa Disability Alliance. We're going to take a short break. We'll have more news coming up after this. Don't go away.